So, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I really did not intend on doing a video on Alpha's philosophy because I thought it would be self-evident as to how faulty her worldview, and by extension, the Whisperer's worldview is. But clearly this isn't self-evident based on my recent polls results. Either that or some of you just want me to dog on this shit philosophy. That being said, I'm gonna try my best to make this video quick so that I can get to work on some more interesting videos. If you could boil down the philosophy of the Whisperers to a simple premise, it would be that the old world is dead and that the only true path forward is to embrace and become one with the new world. An inherent component of this ethical code is the belief that civilization itself is always doomed to fail, and that it is but a fairy tale for the weak. Since the Whisperers have essentially fused with a new natural order, they have in turn mastered the art of walking with the undead. They use walkers as weapons for both defense and attack. They also use them to mask their presence almost like a dead world cloaking device. All of this is in the service of survival and the continued existence of the human species, or so they claim. So why do I feel that Alpha and the Whisperers are wrong? Well, for one, there's really no compelling reason to believe that humanity has to give up on rebuilding and adapting civilization for the new world. Yes, it's true, civilizations do fall, but they also tend to rise from the ashes. Just look at the history of China as a prime example of a nation, culture, and people that have risen and fallen numerous times over the span of several thousand years. If the eventual demise of civilization is an argument for the abandonment of civilization, then the eventual demise of our species is also a solid argument for pro-mortalism, which is the belief that everyone ought to die in order to prevent the future suffering of human beings. Because suffering and oblivion are inevitable in our future. Now, believe it or not, just because something doesn't last forever doesn't then mean we shouldn't build it or undergo said endeavor. Does that then mean you shouldn't watch movies or this video? Fuck no. Just as pro-mortalism is a weak philosophical position, the Whisperer's views on civilization are also incredibly weak. If Alpha was a student of history, she'd recognize that we became the apex species on Earth because of civilization, and not because we stayed as hunter-gatherers that were one with nature. We became, and currently are, the premier species on this planet precisely because we've managed to remove ourselves from natural fucking selection. But the world has changed, right? Maybe she has a point. But how precisely has the world changed? Well, for one, the world belongs to the dead now, because they outnumber us. By a vast margin, too. But that doesn't really have to be the case forever, right? It's possible for humanity to eventually conquer the dead, just as our species has conquered every other natural challenge thrown at us over the course of millennia. Walkers aren't an intelligent species. They aren't evolving either. They were born from us, from a strange pathogen. And like all pandemics, they too will eventually end and become a manageable endemic, precisely because nothing on this planet can stop the indomitable spirit of humanity. As far as I'm concerned, the world hasn't really changed that much either, in the Walking Dead universe at least. Political struggles, human conflict, interpersonal relations, ethics, economics, all of these concepts we often associate with the contemporary world have existed for thousands of years. They're not just gonna go away because of zombies. Here's another important question that needs to be answered. Are Alpha's methods more effective at improving the well-being of her people? I'd say clearly not. They live like animals while the people of Hilltop, Alexandria, and Oceanside all live decent post-apocalyptic lives where they're not fucking in the same bush they shit in. The Commonwealth is doing great. The Civil Republic is thriving. Having real security, real shelter, a sustainable food source, a sustainable water source, rule of law, actual healthcare and so forth, all of that shit is better than living in the wild like some primitive Neanderthal with cobwebs up his ass. That's why we're not living in the wild today as we speak. Now, in terms of actual security, dealing with the Whisperers is actually very easy. Get a machine gun, or some tear gas, or a couple of Molotovs. Shoot the legs of the walker horde or toss gas or Molotov into those walker herds. And just like that, the Whisperers will start screaming or moaning in pain and the walkers will turn on them. When you think about it, it's a fantastically stupid military strategy to be a Whisperer. I mean, just imagine relying on a weapon that can easily be used against you. I couldn't imagine being that fucking moronic. This is a tactic that only works if you're undiscovered. Alpha's worldview creates unnecessary suffering and also views the weak to be dispensable under normal circumstances where such sacrifices aren't even needed. As far as I'm concerned, that's just not ethical no matter how you view it. And it also isn't fucking practical. So why should we, if we were in the Walking Dead universe, adopt her philosophy? The philosophy is literally based on a naturalistic fallacy with no convincing justification. Just because the new natural world has embraced walkers doesn't mean we should. I mean, just look at their leadership hierarchy. It's so pathetically primitive that it actively holds them back. One guy with some swag managed to decapitate the snake, leaving the second in command with all of the responsibility of winning a conflict. Said badass who ended up killing Alpha then became the next Alpha, and then in turn he ended up killing more Whisperers. They also have no council or continuity of government plans because they have no effective council or government. You kill Alpha and Beta and they're fucking cooked. Now if you killed Rick, someone else would just step up. If you killed Negan, someone else would take charge. Get my point? Then there's the clear double standards with Alpha herself. She wanted to leave an infant to die but was obsessed with getting her daughter back, which violated her own fucking code. The Whisperers don't really use guns, but Alpha can use a fucking sawed-off double barrel? That's two easy examples of a special pleading fallacy, or more commonly known as fucking hypocrisy. The leadership in the Whisperers is poor, and the power structure is inherently unstable. Precisely because the Whisperers are a fucking cult that exists for the sheer purpose of feeding one individual's psychotic ego. It's not a real philosophy in practice. So in conclusion, Alpha is obviously wrong. At face value, she may seem reasonable, but upon closer examination, her worldview is frankly ridiculous. With that said, if you like this sort of content, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification icon as well, that way you may be notified when I publish a new video. Also remember that you may opine anytime if you feel so inclined, down in the comment section. I do read most of these comments on my free time, and I will debate some of you occasionally. With that said, I'm Captain Gold and hope to see you in my next Gold Standard video.